Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Woods. I'm Vice President with Densification Inc. in Northern Virginia. And welcome to this latest edition of the Geo-PIT Talk. I'm very excited to be here doing this. I want to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Keeler and Alan Cadden for inviting me to do this. I think it's another initiative that ASCE and Geo-Institute are taking on that I think provides some insight into some of the aspects of our business that maybe aren't covered as much as they should be. We all like to go to a conference and get a chance to talk about this great project and the technical angles of it and things of that nature. But when it comes to some of the softer skills, some of the other aspects of the business, I don't think there's as much coverage as they should be. And so having an opportunity here to today talk to you guys about relationships in construction, I think is something that's important. And I think, my hope is that those watching will take something away from this, particularly some of the younger engineers, contractors that might be out there. So with that, the title of my Geo-PIT talk is Relationships in Construction, a vastly overlooked aspect of the field. So we're gonna do something a little different today. We're not coming at this with any slides. We're just gonna talk about relationships as it relates specifically to the construction industry, right? In our industry, relationships or the industry, is notorious for egos, for attitudes, for who's yelling loudest kind of thing. And none of that really actually accomplishes anything, especially if that person's hoping to have you work together with them again later. Relationships in this industry are not focused on nearly enough at the early stages of career growth, but they can be as important of a developmental cornerstone as the practical experience you're gaining out on job sites, that you're learning technical writing skills as you're writing reports, or design, developing your design capabilities, working on projects. The same people, the same folks that you're working with and interacting with at a staff level, the early parts of your career, are going to be advancing. Many of them are going to be advancing their career on a similar trajectory. And so, someone that you're working with in year one, you don't know where you're going to cross paths with them again, if you're going to, what capacity that might be in. So recognizing that is a pretty important step to personal development here in our business, and a real key in the industry that I think a lot of people don't focus on enough. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Those that know me long enough have, I'm sure at some point or another, heard me talk about, it's all about relationships. I know my kids have heard me say that enough. My older one, he's finally starting to get it. He's halfway through college and he's developing those relationships at the collegiate level with professors and folks outside the university that, may or may not cross paths with him again as his career develops. Okay. Two different prisms really that I'm kind of looking at this through, right? I've got kind of two phases to my career that I talk about. Probably about the first 13 years of my career was spent on the consulting side of things, from an early career phase as an entry-level staff engineer into that, starting to get to that senior management level. And now the second act of my career has been as a construction subcontractor, a ground improvement subcontractor, and focusing more at an executive level. So 20 plus years of experience. I've kind of seen the gamut when it comes to some of these relationships that we're talking about. When I think back to my early days working with Langen, as a staff engineer, you're not necessarily outward facing, right? You're inward facing. You're doing tasks. You're out on a drill rig. You're working on figures for a report. You're working on design, but you're still building relationships, even though it's maybe not with the client necessarily, right? You have relationships with the drillers you're working with. You have, I think back to my younger days of, and I'm going to date myself here, but when we used to use Mylar and actually have to print out drawings to mail them places, right? Sometimes that required a lot of extra hours in the print room at night. And so, whether it's a drill rig breaking down or a helper not showing up and having to get in and work with the driller for the day, helping sling augers around, or working in the print room to try and help get drawings out for your drawing at night, those are things that, maybe those drillers, maybe that drilling company you're working with 10 years down the road as a project manager, and because they saw your commitment to what was going on, maybe they're more willing to stay late to try and help knock a job out. Or, maybe if your client comes out to the site and sees that, hey, they didn't have a guy today, but you stepped up and helped to try and keep this project moving along. Maybe you're not the one developing that relationship with that specific client at that point in time, but it's something that helps overall, right? So some of those early career inward facing tasks that you're trying to get involved in, maybe it's internal, I think back to, working on internal workshops, knowledge transfer workshops, getting to work with some of the senior level people, and you get exposure, and you build those relationships over time where they get to know you as a staff level, maybe a senior staff level person, and maybe you get pulled in on an important job down the road because you were willing to raise your hand and kind of help out on something. As I've sort of progressed later into this executive role, I've seen more focus on the external piece of some of the relationships, right? It's with clients. It's, some of my best clients are ones where I've taken that time to, as a subcontractor, someone always wants to, it's particularly the general contractors, right? They're always looking for a better, faster, cheaper angle, right? And so there's a handful of the general contractors that over the years, they're always looking for a better way to get after something. So I look at geotech reports all the time that, hey, this report says it needs 12 months of a surcharge. It's going to take too long. Can't you just come in and do dynamic compaction and pound and get out of here? Well, sometimes maybe the answer is yes, right? But a lot of times geotech reports written the way it is. And so I have to then be the one to kind of go back to these guys, and relationship's a two-way street, right? You have to be honest, right? And so there's a lot of times where I have to tell my clients, no, this is the way it's got to be because of, X, Y, or Z, I'm plenty of times I've been the one to say, look, I'm not in the business of selling something I can't do, right? And so part of a good relationship is, again, bringing that honesty to the relationship. And so as a result of working with some of these general contractors, taking the time to look at these reports to see if I can help them out, I'm in a position where, being in a competitive bid environment that we all are, they treat me more as a team member, right? As, okay, let's bring you onto the team and work the pricing and go get this job together, rather than, getting into some of the scenarios where guys you don't know that might be just looking to scrape the bottom nickel out of something. And, they'll take a number and go to another guy. Or there's some rather unscrupulous underbelly aspects of our business as well, right? But because I take that time to work with these guys to sort of give them that time and that input as to, is there a better way to get after something? They value that very much and look at me as a team member, right? I think some of the keys in our industry are really just, and you could talk about all relationships with some of these things. Return that call, right? One of your clients calls you. What is it that you need? What can I help you with? Be available. Go that extra little bit. There's some general contractors that we work with that will go out of their way to make sure that my guys in the field have what they need in terms of grading or access or whatever it might be to facilitate our work. And those are the kind of guys that when they call me and say, hey, we got a foundation pour coming up next week, we could really use some overtime this week, or can your guys work Saturday? Those are the kind of clients that, because they're working with me, no problem. What can we do to help out? What can we do to accelerate? Yep, sure, we'll work in here. Let's get out of that area so you guys can keep on your foundation schedule. The flip side of that is the guys that don't want to help. Everyone that's listening to this can relate to that client that doesn't really care about anything other than what they're going to tell you they care about, right? And so, are you necessarily as inclined to want to bend over backwards for a client that's going to treat you like that and talk to you like that? I don't think so. So I guess the key to that is, as you think about this, building these relationships over time, maybe don't be that client. Maybe, if your subcontractor is telling you they need something, or your engineer is telling you they need something, maybe, there's going to have to be some compromise somewhere. But you need to be willing to listen, and you need to be able to have a reciprocal relationship with people, because at the end of the day, look, none of us in this industry accomplish anything without others, right? We need our clients, we need our colleagues, we need our internal peer reviewers. We're all not experts in everything in this geotechnical field by a long shot, but we've got folks internal to our own companies that might know something, right? So we need those colleagues to perform a design review in some capacity, to get involved perhaps on a construction related issue. We need our subcontractors, right? We need our drillers, we need our suppliers, we need all these relationships to exist and flourish in this business. And so I guess, the main point, again, with the title of this, focusing on relationships, is you got to listen. You got to go out of your way to build that relationship. They don't happen on their own. And again, answer that call, take a look at that report. If you're the staff engineer, you could work that Saturday to try and facilitate a schedule because a owner has only certain access to a site. Those are the kind of things that go a long way early in your career, middle of your career, late in your career. You get a lot more from working with people than you do, going down that road of yelling and screaming and being adversarial for no reason. So, if you haven't had the chance to really kind of think about this and focus on this with relationships, even, some of the younger folks that are hopefully listening, take the time to think about it and really recognize that the people you're working with now, there's a better than average chance you're going to be coming down that road, working with them again later on. So hopefully those of you that are watching, thank you. Hopefully you pick something out of this that at least make you think a little bit about building those relationships. And I think you'll find that if you make that a focus of what you're trying to do in this industry, really in this industry or in life in general, I think it'll help you out quite a bit. So again, thank you to Mr. Keeler and Mr. Cadden for inviting me to participate. And I hope everyone is having a good summer. And I look forward to seeing everyone at the next conference, down the road. So with that, I hope everyone has a great week, and thank you for listening.